Hey friends, happy Monday. Hope you had a great weekend. By this point, we have been back at it in 2026 for a couple of weeks, and I am sincerely hopeful that all of us are abiding by Larry David's statute of limitations for wishing somebody a Happy New Year.
Happy New Year!
It's a little late, frankly, for the Happy New Year's, you know?
Why? Just happened a couple weeks ago, right?
Yeah, that's too long. That statute of limitations is kind of run out on the New Year's.
Now that we have passed wishing people a Happy New Year, and now that we have, in fact, been back at it in 2026 for a couple of weeks, let's make sure that we have our plans in order, that we understand from an employment law, from an HR standpoint, that we have our priorities. And for all of us as leaders, for those with human resources responsibilities, for those with in-house counsel responsibilities, I want to share with you what I think is a checklist of a top 5 actions that really need to be taken in preparing for the balance of this 2026. And certainly there are constant changes. We all appreciate the only thing that we are certain of is that things will remain uncertain. So as changes occur, as there are new adoptions of laws, as there are changes in certain requirements that we have from an HR and or legal standpoint, I will certainly do my best through these videos, through emails, through updates to provide you with the changes and provide you with the updates. But again, for now, what I want to give you is this checklist of top 5 actions. Number 1, and it is a bit evergreen, but really never more important than it has been right now, is we have got to take a look at our handbook. As recently as a couple of weeks ago, in early January, the Department of Labor issued 2 opinion letters that pretty significantly affected responsibilities under the Family Medical Leave Act. They will impact our policies. They will impact our FMLA practices and procedures. Have you taken a look at your policies, at your forms, at your practices, at your procedures? We've all seen the significant shift by the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission in its areas of emphasis. And I'm not just talking about what we saw about a year ago with this sort of war on DEI, which has not ended, but there have been changes, additional changes, which substantially impact what we can and cannot include in our equal employment opportunity policies. Have we looked at our classification issues under the Fair Labor Standards Act? For those of you operating in multiple jurisdictions, have you looked at your PTO policy? There have been significant alterations in the state's laws with regard to things like paid family leave or paid sick leave. Have you altered the addenda that you have? Have you updated the addenda that you have for each of these jurisdictions? With pay transparency laws changing seemingly daily, there are policies and practices that must be revised immediately. So number 1, let's take a look at our handbook. Let's make sure we update our policies and our practices. Number 2, meaningful management training provided to your leaders. And you heard me talk last year about this Big 5, and the Big 5 has not changed. It has only become more important. Number 1, have we provided meaningful, impactful, accessible, practical harassment prevention training to our leaders? Really to everybody, but certainly to our leaders. With the EEOCs changing again, as I mentioned a moment ago, its emphases, things like anti-American discrimination, things like religious discrimination, its attempt to change the legal landscape with regard to rights of our LGBTQ plus community members. Have we provided meaningful harassment prevention training that is applicable to a 2026 audience? Number 2, performance management. But it can't just be the regular performance management training that we've done in the past. The workforce has changed, and the way in which we communicate to our employees is vastly different today than it was in 2015, than it was in 2005, than it was in 1995 and before. We have this changing workplace and this increased importance of empathy, attention to things like mental health. And if your performance management training doesn't address those concerns, I'm not sure what you're doing. Number 3, hiring and interviewing, making sure these trainings, again, are 2026 relevant and include conversations about the use, if it's applicable to your workforce, of artificial intelligence, of AI, what it should look like, what the risks are associated with the use of AI. Number 4, a training on Family Medical Leave Act and the Americans with Disabilities Act. And we all appreciate that a training that is provided to human resources professionals on the FMLA and the ADA, where they really need to get granular, really need to get in the weeds so that we understand what the law is. That's different than FMLA ADA training that's provided to managers whose overarching responsibility is what? Call HR. And finally, number 5, bias mitigation. I said it in early 2025. I think it is no less important today, given the current landscape of the world in which we live. Understanding that we all have implicit bias and how we, in a real way, can take steps to mitigate against it is crucial. So number 1, handbook review, policies and procedures. Number 2, meaningful management training that applies as we sit here in 2026. Number 3, and speaking of AI, which I mentioned just a moment ago in the context of hiring training, have we reviewed our policies? Have we reviewed our practices to make sure that we are getting the most effective use of artificial intelligence that we can? But we also need to make sure that there are compliance reviews of the way we are utilizing AI to ensure that we're not violating any state law, for example. And more states are starting to pass laws regarding the use of artificial intelligence. Are we ensuring that we're not violating anybody's privacy rights? So number 3, the review of our practices, our policies, our procedures relating to the use of artificial intelligence. Number 4, are we paying sufficient attention? Have we been paying the requisite attention to the proliferation of pay transparency laws? According to a recent article that I read, by the end of 2026, in excess of 50% of all U.S. employees will be covered by a pay transparency law of some kind. Many of the organizations who are listening to this video right now have operations throughout the country. Are you comfortable with your knowledge related to which of your employees are covered by these pay transparency laws? Which of the jurisdictions in which you operate have restrictions, have requirements on what we cannot or what we must provide to those people applying for jobs, applying for promotions inside of our organizations? And finally, number 5, and again, a little evergreen, but because of constant changes we are seeing in the law, it is an opportune time to review our restrictive covenant agreements, whether it is a non-solicitation or really the one that we are most concerned about are your covenants not to compete, where the laws change constantly in states like Washington, in states like New York. Are we comfortable that the restrictive covenant agreements that we are requiring our employees to sign at the end of the day will actually be enforceable, at the end of the day will actually protect the interests that we are seeking to protect? Number 1, handbook review. Number 2, meaningful 2026 management training. 3, dealing with the issues related to artificial intelligence. 4, pay transparency laws. And 5, restrictive covenant agreements, covenants not to compete specifically. And folks, if we go through this checklist, and it is a living, breathing checklist, it will change as the year goes along. But these are crucial right now. If we pay attention to these and we update and we are thoughtful and we are practical in our implementation, then once again, in the words of Larry David, year 2026, I think it's going to be
pretty good.
As always, folks, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for commenting. Thank you so much for sharing. Hope to see you real soon.